Welcome back. We've got a genuinely fascinating deep dive lined up for you today. And to be honest, it's a bit of a geopolitical labyrinth.
Yeah, that is definitely the right word for it. It's incredibly tangled.
Right. So our mission today is to unpack a really complex, highly detailed briefing. We sourced this from the Geopolitics and Economics collection of a Patreon page called QLT.
And it is a dense read.
Oh, absolutely. We are going to explore this tangled web of recent drone and missile strikes across the Persian Gulf, the intense international finger-pointing that immediately followed, and really how global superpowers are using this chaos to, maneuver on the world stage.
It's a situation where the physical facts on the ground are moving incredibly fast, and the political narratives being spun around those facts are moving even faster.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at a live geopolitical stress test here.
For sure. But before we jump in, we really need to pause and give a quick but very crucial disclaimer for you listeners.
Yes, very important.
The cult Patreon material we're analyzing today contains some heavy, highly charged accusations. We're talking about claims involving Israel, Iran, the United States, Russia, China, basically all the major players.
Right, and because of that, we want to be absolutely clear. We are acting strictly as your analytical guides today. We aren't taking sides, and we are certainly not endorsing any of these viewpoints or narratives.
Exactly. We are just unpacking the claims impartially, exactly as they appear in the text, so you can understand the information presented. Because whether these claims are true or not, these specific narratives are actively moving markets and shaping international relations right now.
Yeah, our job is the analysis, not the verdict. So looking at the physical reality on the ground as reported in this brief, things are grim and highly volatile. Over the course of just several days, a significant wave of missile and drone strikes has swept across the Persian Gulf region.
And we aren't talking about minor, isolated incidents here, right?
Not at all. These strikes have successfully shut down major oil refineries, they've severely disrupted vital international shipping lanes, and, tragically, the report notes that at least 6 people have been killed across the region as a direct result.
6 lives lost, shipping lanes choked, and critical energy infrastructure totally paralyzed. I mean, that is a massive systemic disruption to one of the most sensitive regions on the planet.
It really is.
Let's break down the specific targets mentioned in the source to give you a real sense of the sheer scale of this operation. The brief details at least 5 separate attacks on Saudi Arabian facilities.
Right.
Specifically, it names sites located in Riyadh and, crucially, Saudi Aramco's Ras Tanura oil refinery.
And hitting Ras Tanura is a massive escalation. That isn't just any refinery. It is traditionally one of the oldest and largest oil processing facilities in the entire world.
It's massive.
Right. So when a facility of that magnitude takes a direct hit, the shockwaves aren't just local. They instantly ripple through global energy markets. You're talking about a facility that processes millions of barrels of crude a day.
And the geographic spread of these attacks is just as alarming as the targets themselves. Because beyond the 5 attacks in Saudi Arabia, the report cites 2 attacks specifically targeting the port of Duqman in Oman.
Which is a very specific choice of target.
Exactly. If you look at a map, Duke's location is highly strategic. It sits outside the Strait of Hormuz, directly on the Arabian Sea. It's been developed largely as a safe haven port, a way to bypass the narrow, highly contested choke point of the strait.
So striking Duqman sends a very clear message to the region. It says there is no safe harbor anywhere on the peninsula.
Right. It's a coordinated, multinational impact zone affecting the most critical energy and logistics hubs in the Middle East. And you would naturally expect immediate, clear-cut blame in a situation this devastating.
Yeah, you expect the targeted nations to point a finger, and you expect the accused to either proudly claim responsibility or fiercely deflect.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Instead of the usual geopolitical script, we get a massive plot twist. Iranian officials are officially responding to these strikes, and they are pointing the finger directly at Israel.
Which is wild.
They are publicly accusing Israel of carrying out these drone strikes against the energy and civilian facilities across the Persian Gulf.
It's a profound accusation that flips the expected narrative completely upside down.
Okay.
And the specifics of this inside job claim read like something out of a Cold War spy thriller.
They really do.
According to an Iranian foreign ministry official who spoke to the outlet Middle East Eye on the condition of anonymity, Iran is categorically denying any involvement. They are quoted simply and directly saying, "I can state categorically that some of the attacks were not carried out by us."
But they don't stop at just a simple denial. They outline a highly specific operational theory.
Right.
Two additional Iranian sources told Middle East Eye that Israel's intelligence agency, the Mossad, carried out some of these attacks using an established network of agents and logistics located entirely within Iran itself.
Let's just pause and think about the sheer audacity of that claim. Iran is stating that a hostile foreign intelligence service managed to smuggle, assemble, and launch sophisticated attack drones from within its own heavily surveilled borders.
Using Iranian territory as a staging ground to attack neighboring Arab states.
Exactly. It's mind-boggling from a security standpoint. The report even notes that Iranian authorities are currently actively working to locate these alleged hidden drone warehouses on their own soil.
I mean, if you believe this narrative, it represents a catastrophic failure of Iranian internal security.
And if you don't believe it, it represents one of the most elaborate deflections in modern geopolitical history.
Right. And Iran is pushing this narrative on multiple fronts. They aren't just making these claims to the press. The source material highlights that Iran reportedly reached out privately through back channels to Saudi Arabia
To directly deny that they were behind the attacks on the Aramco infrastructure, they are actively trying to manage the fallout with their immediate neighbors.
And to put a fine point on it, an unnamed Iranian military source, quoted by the Tasnim news agency, went on the record to label the attack on the Aramco facility specifically as an Israeli false flag operation.
A false flag operation designed to mask the true identity of the attacker. And according to the Iranian officials cited in the text, the ultimate goal of this alleged false flag is highly calculated.
What are they saying the goal is?
They are framing it as a deliberate strategy by Israel to drag Arab states into the already escalating multi-front conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel. They view it as an attempt to widen the war and force the Gulf states to take a definitive side.
So to summarize the board right now, we have devastating multinational attacks on critical infrastructure. We have categorical denials from Tehran, and we have accusations of a highly complex Mossad false flag operation utilizing hidden drone warehouses deep inside Iran. It is just a dizzying amount of conflicting information.
It is, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, a narrative like this doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It immediately gets weaponized by other major powers.
Right.
While the U.S. and Israel are trying to manage the fallout of these accusations in the Gulf, that exact diplomatic chaos provides the perfect opening for Moscow and Beijing to step in and assert their own influence.
Which brings us to the global heavyweights. This is where the broader geopolitical chessboard really comes into focus.
Yeah, the big players.
The Russian Foreign Ministry released a statement on Thursday, and they firmly backed Iran's narrative. According to Reuters, the Russian Foreign Ministry explicitly accused the United States and Israel of deliberately provoking Iran into carrying out retaliatory attacks against targets in Arab countries.
They specifically noted that this provocation resulted in human and material losses, describing it as a situation that Russia deeply regrets.
Interesting phrasing.
Yeah, but what we are seeing here isn't just reactionary diplomacy. It's the active formation of an alternative security architecture in the Middle East. Russia is using a regional crisis to explicitly offer the Gulf states a different umbrella.
And you can see that play out in the behind-the-scenes maneuvering, too. The cult brief notes that Russian President Vladimir Putin engaged in direct, high-level telephone diplomacy. Earlier in the week, he spoke by phone with the leaders of 4 Arab Gulf states.
4 leaders in a single week is a full-court diplomatic press.
Absolutely. And look at what he's offering during those calls. According to the text, Putin offered to use Moscow's established ties with Tehran to convey concerns regarding the attacks on the oil infrastructure.
He is aggressively positioning Russia as the vital intermediary. He wants to be seen as the power broker who can talk to all sides, unlike Washington, which doesn't have open, direct diplomatic relations with Tehran.
And China is walking right in step with that exact same strategy. The brief details how Beijing adopted a remarkably similar tone to Moscow. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had a call with his Omani counterpart, and according to the official summary, Wang Yi stated that the United States and Israel had deliberately provoked a war against Iran.
It's almost verbatim the same framing as the Russian Foreign Ministry. But Wang Yi also offered some very specific, pointed advice to the Gulf states during that call.
Oh, right. The advice about independence.
Yes. He urged them to strengthen their independence and to oppose external interference.
Well, when the Chinese foreign minister tells Middle Eastern states to oppose external interference, you don't need a top-tier translator to know that external interference is just Beijing's polite diplomatic shorthand for Washington, D.C.
Exactly. It is a direct call to push American influence out of the region.
Absolutely. And China's foreign ministry spokeswoman, Mao Ning, took the rhetoric a step further regarding the initial catalyst for all this. She explicitly called the original U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran a grave violation of Iran's sovereignty.
That phrase, grave violation of sovereignty, carries immense diplomatic weight. By framing it that way, China and Russia are entirely rejecting the U.S. and Israeli justification for their actions.
They are providing full diplomatic cover for Iran's position on the global stage, legitimizing Tehran's grievances while actively courting the Gulf states.
It's a massive, multi-layered crisis.
Yeah.
We have the Gulf states getting hammered by physical strikes, Iran blaming Israel for a false flag, and Russia and China stepping in to publicly back Iran while undermining the U.S.
It's already so much to process.
It is. But just when you think you have a handle on the state-level players involved, the source material throws a total wild card onto the table.
Yes. This next detail completely complicates the entire narrative of state-on-state conflict we've been tracking. We have to pivot away from the Persian Gulf for a moment and look at the Mediterranean. Specifically, a drone strike that occurred on the RAF Akrotiri base in Cyprus on March 2nd.
This is a critical anomaly in the timeline, and it perfectly illustrates the nightmare of modern warfare.
The specifics from the brief are just fascinating. A Shahed-type drone hit a hangar at this base in Cyprus. But it wasn't just any hangar. It was a hangar actively used by United States U-2 spy planes.
Which is a highly sensitive target.
Very. Thankfully, according to Middle East Eye, this specific strike caused no casualties. But hitting a U-2 hangar is incredibly specific.
It is. The U-2 is a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft. It's the exact kind of technology the U.S. military uses for deep strategic surveillance across the region. Targeting that specific hangar isn't a random act of harassment. It's a deliberate attempt to blind Western intelligence gathering in the Eastern Mediterranean.
And the origin of this drone is where the mystery really deepens. The brief mentions it was a Shahed-type drone. Now, Shahed drones are heavily associated with Iranian manufacturing. They have a very distinct delta wing shape and an acoustic signature that's hard to miss.
So the immediate assumption would be that this came from Iran.
Exactly. But the UK Ministry of Defense threw a massive wrench into that assumption on March 4th. They actually confirmed the drone did not come from Iran.
Right, which forces investigators to look elsewhere entirely. UK defense officials currently believe this drone was launched by a pro-Iranian militia. Specifically, they're looking at proxy militias based in either Lebanon or Western Iraq. However, the brief notes that the investigation has not yet conclusively established its exact origin.
So we have a known weapon type hitting a highly specific strategic target, but launched by an unknown actor from an unconfirmed location.
And this raises an enormous aha moment for understanding how conflict works today. Because this single drone in Cyprus is vital for you to grasp. It perfectly illustrates the absolute nightmare of proxy warfare.
How so?
Well, in traditional conflicts, an attack comes from a nation's military, launching from their own sovereign soil. You have radar tracks, you have troop movements, you know exactly who to hold accountable.
But proxy militias offer built-in plausible deniability.
Exactly. Even when you can identify the weapon as an Iranian-designed Shahed drone, the fragmented, decentralized nature of proxy militias makes assigning definitive blame incredibly difficult.
I see.
If a militia in Lebanon or Western Iraq launches a drone at a U.S. target in Cyprus who is legally responsible, is it an attack by Lebanon, by Iraq? Is it an attack by Iran, who likely supplied the weapon and the training? Or is it a rogue splinter group acting entirely independently of their state sponsors?
It completely blurs the lines of responsibility. It adds a thick, almost impenetrable layer to the fog of war. It allows state actors to exert immense pressure, blind spy planes, and cause physical damage without ever triggering the threshold for a direct conventional war.
And for the international community trying to investigate and respond, it creates a jurisdictional and investigative black hole.
It really is a nightmare scenario for military planners. You have shifting narratives, explosive false flag accusations, superpowers playing diplomatic chess over the phone lines, and untraceable proxy drones hitting intelligence bases. It is just an overwhelming amount of friction.
It is. Which brings us to the most important question. What does this all mean for you?
Right. Why should you, listening right now, care about this tangled web halfway across the world?
You should care, because the stress of this entire geopolitical situation is falling squarely on the shoulders of the Gulf states. And how those states react to this pressure directly dictates the stability of the global economy. The Cult Brief highlights the intense, almost impossible dilemma facing these nations right now.
It really is an impossible tightrope walk. On one side, the Gulf states are facing immense direct pressure from Washington. The U.S. wants them to hold the line, to support a broader military campaign to counter these threats, and to project a unified pro-Western front.
But on the other side, the Gulf states are the ones actually taking the physical hits. They are the ones watching their oil refineries burn and their shipping lanes get shut down.
Yeah, a broader regional war doesn't happen in the abstract for them. It happens in their backyards, to their vital infrastructure.
They are trying to weigh the concept of military retaliation against the terrifying reality of total economic destruction.
To really highlight the level of anxiety and the specific regional mindset regarding this tightrope walk, the brief includes a very powerful direct quote from a veteran Saudi politician named Abdulaziz Al-Tawadri.
His words are a stark representation of the fears circulating deeply within the region right now.
Here is exactly what Al-Tawadri is quoted as saying in the source. Quote, "I firmly believe that the Zionist entity wants to drag these countries into war to generate more destruction, damage the economy, and undermine security and stability in the region."
Now, once again, we must carefully remind you of our impartiality here. We are not validating the objective truth of Al-Tawadri's claim, nor are we endorsing his specific terminology. We are simply presenting the quote exactly as it appears in the source material.
But beyond the claim itself, why is understanding this specific, highly charged quote so crucial to understanding the broader geopolitical picture?
Because regardless of whether you believe his accusation is true or false, you have to understand that this is the actual mindset of significant regional players. This deep-seated belief that they are being manipulated into a destructive war by external forces for someone else's benefit is the exact lens through which they are viewing this crisis.
And those beliefs are what drive their geopolitical decisions.
Exactly.
And those decisions hit home for all of us, no matter where you live.
They absolutely do. When a Gulf state decides to hold back on retaliation out of fear of economic destruction, or when they decide to align closer to China and Russia because they fundamentally distrust the narratives coming from the U.S. and Israel, those decisions instantly impact global markets.
They dictate the price of the oil you pay at the pump. They influence the cost of shipping the goods you buy every day.
The fears expressed by politicians like Al-Tawadri are the very things shaping the economic reality you interact with.
It all comes down to the flow of resources and the stability of the global markets we rely on. It is incredible how a drone strike on a port in Oman or a diplomatic phone call from Moscow eventually ripples all the way down to your local economy. Everything is entirely interconnected.
And that interconnectedness is exactly why understanding these narratives, even the conflicting ones, is so vital. You can't navigate the global economy if you don't understand the political currents driving it.
We have covered an immense amount of ground today. Let's do a quick recap of this whirlwind of information we've pulled from the Cult Patreon brief. We started with the mysterious and devastating strikes on critical Gulf infrastructure, shutting down major refineries and maritime shipping. We examined Iran's explosive claims of a complex Mossad false flag operation using internal Iranian drone warehouses.
We then looked at how Russia and China immediately capitalized on the diplomatic void. They firmly backed Tehran's narrative and used the crisis to actively push back against U.S. influence in the Middle East.
And then we complicated the entire picture with the Cyprus anomaly, a proxy drone strike on a U-2 spy plane hangar that proves just how muddy the waters of modern warfare have become. The sheer volume of conflicting information really is the defining feature of this entire brief.
It really is. And before we go, we want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Something for you to mull over on your own that builds on everything we've unpacked today from the source material.
What's the question?
Think about the reality of the geopolitical landscape we've just described. We are living in an era where cheap, easily disguised drone technology can be launched by anonymous proxy militias from virtually anywhere on Earth. And when an attack happens, major world powers immediately disagree on the most basic, fundamental facts of the event. They weaponize the narrative for their own strategic gain.
So the question is, in a world structured like this, how can the international community ever definitively prove attribution? And what happens to our global alliances and the systems designed to keep the peace when the very concept of indisputable evidence simply ceases to exist?
It's a chilling question. When facts become entirely subjective, navigating international relations becomes a game of pure leverage.
Well, that is all the time we have for today. We want to enthusiastically thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Your curiosity and your desire to truly understand the mechanics of our complex world are what make this show possible. Stay informed, keep asking the hard questions, and we will see you next time.